I don't think it's necessarily called that, but we can call it that. So again, the person knows how to find these deleted files. They can, they can say, oh, hey, what's in there? But sometimes people move them around. What happens then? That's in the case of defragmenting the drive, because if you have all these files, like in one here we have a file here to use, files here, but it's a lot easier on the computer and to locate and call up the files when they're all in one small space. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to take all these files here, this file here, and this file here, and those two and these in the different clusters, and put them in one cluster if possible, or maybe two clusters instead of having them in three different clusters for the computer to have to look through. Defragmenting does that. It takes all these files that are not to be overwritten and puts them in one place. There, these two files get in here, and here, leaving all this as space that can be overwritten, but still, someone who has analyzed the computer will know to look for them. Even though it was defragmented, the files can still be found. Even if it was deleted and defragmented, the files can still be found. They might be in a place that it might take a lot of searching to connect them, but they can be found. So, and also let's not forget, even swap files, they were put in these places where the computer can overwrite them, but you're going to find them in these either the deleted file areas or the swap files can be found there. So they're not gone. They might not be seen, but they are not gone, and a forensic computer expert should know how to call them up and how to identify them and how to read them. There is also the idea of internet data. Now, people don't necessarily know this is saved on their computer. They probably suspect it, but what people do on the internet is often saved on the computer. And we like to know this because what people do on the internet says a lot about the person. If a person's constantly viewing websites that have on how to use a gun, again, this tells us a little bit about this person. If he's constantly trying to learn about how to use a gun, and we know there's a crime involving a gun, well, this person might very well have been involved in that. Also, maybe this person contacted somebody. If we know the person's guilty, maybe the person who they're constantly talking to or contacting using via the internet, maybe that other person is involved in the crime. So we do need to know a lot about the internet data. So this is saved on the computer in the form of what they call the internet cache, the internet cookies, internet history, and also bookmarks. So we'll talk about these things. Let's look at the internet cache. You go to a website, and the website has to load with all its graphics and whatever else it has there, text, graphics, maybe even videos. So when you go there, every time it has to reload the whole thing. Now the website doesn't want to do that. Rather than reload the whole thing and have you wait for it to reload the whole thing, it will, sneakily or not, that really depends on how you look at it, it will actually save parts of the website, maybe the whole thing, on your computer in the internet cache, so that when you get to their website, it says, "Hey, I know you were here before. Instead of my loading it up over here, I'll just tell your computer to load it from the saved part from the internet cache where I already saved it." This takes up memory that you don't even know got taken up, and there are options to delete the internet cache. Usually in your let's say your Mozilla Firefox, and one of their options to delete the internet cache at any time, or to even do it every time you stop being on the internet. It might automatically, let's say you close the Firefox internet browser, it'll automatically delete them. So there's a way to delete them, but if they were not deleted, we can see what kind of pages this person was visiting. Also, there are cookies that if a person goes to a website and the website says, "Oh, well, what's your name?" and you put your name in there, the website will often save a file on your computer without you necessarily knowing about it. It will save a file on your computer including your name, so that whenever you visit the web page again, the web page is going to say, "Hey, did this guy visit it? Oh, it did, and the person who visited, and I have information as to what the person's name is. So when you visit it again, it'll say, hey, it'll give you your name." And again, you can delete these cookies too. Some people don't even like to visit sites that give cookies. Sometimes they even want their computer to warn them that the site is using cookies. Whatever it is, there are actually options to delete all the cookies. And the internet history, that often your computer will save the record of your websites, or even like downloaded files, a list of downloaded files, because this is useful to you, or it supposedly speeds things up for you. If it knows you visit certain websites, it might, let's say in a search, it might suggest these websites first because it knows you know them. And it's information. If you like to visit certain websites, other websites can say, hey, I'd like to know where you visit so I can show you, let's say, advertisements that are related to the websites that you visited. So that's what the internet history has. And of course, people can also delete history. You might have known that. This is very important because people who don't know that they can delete the history. It can be very incriminating. It can tell exactly which website the person visited, and if he's visiting very illicit websites, then the person can be caught. Let's say at work, he's not supposed to be viewing pictures of panda bears, but if the boss comes around and looks at the internet history, they'll see they're constantly looking at these panda bear websites. He's gonna know. So these are important files, and again, it's certainly useful in forensic cases. There's also bookmarks and favorite places. You probably know about this, that if you want a very quick way to get to certain websites, you put them under bookmarks or favorite places, whatever they might be called in your internet browser. They may be called different things. So these gets you to a lot of websites quickly in the form of a shortcut. And again, if you let's say a person has these bookmarks where he has a lot of their favorite place to visit, it would be bomb building websites or something like that. Again, that says a lot about the computer user. And these are examined by the computer forensic expert. He's got to know what to look for and where to find it. It's important to know about the IP address. Every computer, especially if it goes on the internet, has an IP address. The way it works is when you go on the internet, what you do is you get some internet service provider which allows your computer to connect to the internet. But every computer that goes through the internet service provider will have an IP address, and your computer will have one. And whenever information is transferred through that internet service provider, through the internet, the IP address will be attached to it in some way. An email will have this IP address showing up in some way. So this way, if there was an email, a threatening email that was sent, the first thing we do is go to the internet service provider, which is known, and we say, okay, what's the IP address of this thing? And they're required to give it to any law enforcement agency that demands it. And in that way, the computer that sent this email will be able to be identified. Also, there are email communication records that are saved in a file. The forensic investigator can